Well, it's been a couple of weeks since I've worked on this bass guitar. The last thing I did was lightly glue this in place. It's pretty good except for where the finish is chipped off. Anyway, I thought I'd try making a little bit more progress. I thought I made a mistake by gluing that little crack on top. I thought that was keeping me from getting this, but now I look at it, I really don't think that has anything to do with it. If you can see here, the grain on this piece here is sticking out over the top of this piece. And I have to fold one and other back and forth, and I don't know if that's possible. Without making more damage. I really think I'm just going to cut the front edge of that off to get this up there even, because I don't think that amounts to anything anyway in terms of strength or durability. And I'm thinking I can get it around there now. Yep, I did, I think. So just cutting off that little piece changed everything that way. That really lined it all up a lot better. So now all these parts here are almost in alignment. All of this is just about in alignment. It's not perfect, but it's getting close. What I think I'm going to do is start back here and glue a little bit at a time and just align this a little bit at a time and just work my way that way. Okay, the first thing you do when you're going to do work like this is you put a glove on the hand that's on the inside of the instrument. Otherwise, you will glue your hand in there. Ask me how I know that. No, don't ask me. It did take me 10 minutes to get my hand out of a guitar one time. It took me 10 minutes. So ever since then, I put a glove on that hand. All right, so like I said, I'm going to work very little bit at a time, and that way I can align it and get it as close to perfect as possible. I've got the tiny little bitty nozzle on this, and of course it has to still make as big a mess as it can possibly make. It just never fails on that. All right, and guess what? See the holes? Yeah. That was a very little bit amount of glue that I put on there, and yet it still went through inside and got to my hand. Yeah, I rest my case. Okay, so for the record, I've already cleaned out the rest of the glove that was on the inside stuck in there. Yeah. This really would be simple if it would just be simple. But it just never is. It just never is. I'm trying to see how much of a gap I've got here. And I want to go up to about here, I think this time. So I will put the glue on as light as I can put it on. And that looks about as good as it's going to get, so I'm going to spritz that area. So we're good from way back here to way up here right now. So as far as I'm going to take it right now, I don't want to go any further because I got some issues back right here on this end. Where it's flapping right here. I don't want to go any further than that right now. So I think I'm going to work on this crack now, or maybe this one, or maybe both. Believe it or not, that's really not that bad. It looks horrible, I realize, but it's not that bad. Now what I'm going to do before I get ahead of myself is I'm going to make some cleats, some dark wood cleats, probably make them out of walnut or something just because that would be the closest match probably. and I'm going to go inside and put them across these brakes wherever I can, and put 2 or 3, 4 of those in there. I'll show you a little bit of that, but more than likely you can't see what I'm doing anyway, so I'll try to show you some of the result a little bit later. Well, I made up a whole bunch of little cleats for this guitar. Now, because I've got those parts glued up and I don't have as good access, the hole's a little tighter, a little hard to get through. Now I'm going to take this off. Plus, by the way, the other reason I didn't take it off was this has also helped keeping this in line, because some of those cracks extend pretty far. So I just didn't want to take this out. But I'm going to take this off now, and I'm going to go through here and put those cleats in. By the way, for those of you out there keeping score, these are a Torx 6, a T6. So they're very tiny, and you have to have one of these little micro tool sets in order to take things like this apart. And yes, I could probably put this in my drill and do it faster. Oh, what would be the fun in that? It would save on my hands though, so I may have to start doing that kind of thing more often. Unstick the battery. Leave the battery just kind of hang loose in there for now. On these little cleats, I bevel all 4 sides. I first made them in a nice long strip, and I took my little finger plane and beveled the long edges. And then when I cut them off, then I just take a file and bevel the ends. You're not going to be able to see me do much here, but I will show you a little of my technique once I get into it. Here's going to be the technique. You can see I've got a cleat in there across the crack, and I have magnets on the cleat itself. I put a little bit of 2-way tape to keep the magnet stuck there. I'm not going to film any more of that, but I just thought I'd show you. I came to a point that I thought you might find very interesting. You can see where I'm putting the cleats, and I'm spreading them out about every 1.25 inches or so. And then when I got here, you know, you can see that the cleat is way off the crack line. In other words, here's the crack line is very jagged right here, and the cleat is way up here. That's because the wood split under, you know, so in other words, it's a very long, wide split through here because of the way the grain went. So on the inside of the guitar, I can tell you for sure that's where the crack is. But on the outside, the crack's here. So that'll show you that the grain was very slab sawn. It's not quarter sawn, and because of that, when it busted, it split across that grain the long ways, you know. So anyway, I can't put a cleat on the outside, obviously, but the cleat's on the inside and it's in the proper place. I just thought I'd show you that because I thought you might find that interesting. For the doubting Thomases out there, because I know there's always some, the furthest back cleat, you can see, again, right here is the cleat, and then if you can possibly see, if I can get the light in there well enough, you can see where that cleat, this furthest back cleat, is definitely on the crack. I'm just trying to get it where you can see it. It's really hard to hold this. But anyway, you should be able to see it there, I think. It is definitely on the crack. It is what it is. Just kind of crazy. That's just one of those things you run into every once in a while. Interesting enough, right in this area it does that, but when you get back down here, I think the crack is more or less straight through again. So we'll see here in a minute when I get that next cleat on. Well, it didn't get quite back to the crack, but it's pretty close, because this crack, of course, this one kind of chipped out. That crack does kind of go up in here, so it's pretty close to the crack on the outside now. But on the inside, it's definitely where it should be. Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Workshop. March 22nd, 2022. Well, that's set up overnight, and while you can see the glue and things right here yet, I think we can still buff that out and make that look pretty darn good. It feels really solid again now. With all those cleats in there and everything, I'm pretty sure that's not going anywhere. So now we need to move on. Now, you know, my brother and other people have suggested, and of course I've thought of it myself, is cutting this off and just replacing this whole thing. You know, it does sound simple, and it is, a good option. I mean, it's a good way to go because it would actually probably save time. But, you know, I don't have wood that's going to match that even in the ballpark. It's not even close. I mean, the walnut that we have is a different color and look of the walnut. But still, I mean, it still is a viable option. But, you know, he's given me the parts and he kind of expected me to put it back together, I believe, with the parts. So I'm going to try that. You know, we can always do the other thing if, you know, the more complicated thing. And when I say complicated, it is kind of complicated because first of all, this is a tapered piece. It's, you know, I don't know if you've realized, but this side is much thicker than this side. You know, so it's much wider. Anyway, so everything's complicated on this thing. And replacing it wouldn't be that easy anyway because this top is also busted out. See, there's a piece missing here. If it was just the side, I'd probably go for that. But, you know, I can't just replace the side because I'd still have the top to fix. And if those parts fit in there, I'm just going to go for the parts for now. I may change my mind, you know, how these things evolve, so I'm not sure what my next move is. I'm going to kind of contemplate that here for a minute. Okay, before I plug that hole and all that, I think I'm going to turn my attention to the far side. This is cracked also, and it's almost a worse crack in a lot of ways. And you may say, well, it don't look that bad. Well, it's a lot worse in a lot of ways. And here's why. The sides have folded under. See, like this piece here, this piece is folded under this piece. Back here, it's the opposite. This piece is on top of this piece. This piece is folded under that piece. So it's opposite here, you know, of here. And it is not easy changing that. I mean, it really isn't. I've been here and done this kind of thing many times. You can really create a havoc right here real fast. I'm gonna monkey with trying to pry that out here. I really don't think it's gonna be very easy. I could be wrong, it might not be that hard, but it really doesn't look easy. I'm reaching up in here, I got my hand up in about this area here, and I'm pushing on that to see if there's any give. There's not much give. There never really is on this kind of thing. That's why I know it isn't going to be easy. There's just no give. If this piece here would go back under there, I think it would almost be solved. But I don't know that I can get it to do that. I'm pushing pretty hard, and I'm afraid I'm going to break something even worse. Because you can do that. I had a good viewer friend that made me this little jack, internal jack. And while I don't even think it's big enough to use in here, I could have used it. I could have put that in here, but I used that on my laser cutter because I use that all the time for raising and lower the table. I don't have access to that jack now. It would be kind of difficult to get it out of the laser cutter. But if I had a little spreader jack for this right now, and there's all kinds of spreader jacks. I've made some myself. I'm going to look at a couple of them here and see if I have one that I could make work in this situation. Because if I could spread this out just the least little bit, I might be able to pry this in here. But I'm afraid by the time I get the jack in there, I'm not going to be able to get my hand where I need it anyway. It's not that simple. This is not an easy thing to fix. It looks like it should just be simple, and it would be if I could just get these two pieces to change places. But yeah, that's not that easy. Well, I mentioned I had made a spreader before, and I looked all over the place for it. I couldn't find it. I was just getting ready to make a new one, or one or two new ones here. And I was just going to cut a slot in these little discs here and just set it in there and then spread it with that. But I remembered where I had it, and I found it. So, I don't know if this is tall enough. Actually, I think it will be. So getting it in there and getting it to do its job, that's a totally different story. But and you know, you think this would be easy, but it isn't, because nothing holds both ends. And you can't spin this unless both ends are held. Like, I can't just reach in there and spin it and see it doesn't do anything. So it's not as easy as it seems. For sure got to get it really close to the size. That's the first thing you got to do. These things look good on paper, but they don't work good in you know, in reality. And that's the truth of it. And that's the problem with a lot of products. Aha! It wedged in there. Nah, it's still spinning. It's wedged in there, but it's not tight enough to hold itself in place. I think what I'll have to do is just actually wedge it out just a little bit more. More or less just force it in there. I've got it spread a little bit. The crack is opened up. It just probably isn't opened up enough yet to get past there. Ah, there it went. It popped. I got to be careful. It's going to crack it worse. But it got me past there. And I think I did crack it a little bit, but I'll take that little bit of a crack to get back where I needed to be. You know, it's not perfect, but it's much, 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 much better. And even that fixed this too. Yeah, we're almost perfect now. Yeah, that was all I needed right there. Yeah, I didn't expect that result, but when I finally get a good result, I'll take it. It's hard to get a good result doing this kind of stuff. Now, unfortunately, it isn't meshing back together perfectly right here. It's you know, it's very close, but it's still a 0.5 millimeter off or something. And that's not good because you're going to feel that and you're going to see it. I'm not very good with my left hand, but maybe while I'm holding on that, I could just tap it lightly here, and maybe with this rubber hammer, maybe they'd go back together. I doubt it. Again, it's one of those deals where it's kind of split laterally. It's not a straight off thing. I may have to cut my losses there and just say that's as good as it's going to get. And I tell you what, that's pretty good, really. I'm not too dissatisfied with that, considering what we had. That's really pretty dang good right there. That's just like perfectly smooth. If I could I'll just have to do a little bit at a time. Unfortunately, I have to operate the glue with my left hand in this case, and I'm not very good with my left hand. Holding things is one thing, but operating something is totally different. And even though I'm only operating a glue bottle with my left hand, everything's a struggle. And here's another case where if I had 3 hands, this would be a piece of cake, because I need to squeeze it this way too at the same time. That's not too bad right there. If I could keep it there and get the glue on it, I'd be okay with that. I got the glue on it, but it made a big mess. I just want to get that first little piece started and set in place and then move on from there. I think it's probably set by now. That's pretty good. I'm okay with that. If I can just get the rest of it to do the same thing now, I'd be real happy. I'm trying to get all of this lined up at the same time because it doesn't want to line up, and I'm afraid if I don't get it all at once, I won't get it. Anytime you're doing this, it is so hard to keep all the stuff where you need it. Oh my gosh, it's so close to working, but I really do need 2 more hands right now. I could use 2 more hands. Emery, quick, come here, quick. Grab this accelerator over here real quick. This
to your left?
Over here on the right. That white, yeah, that. Very lightly spray it up through that crack. Just a nice mist. That's good. Thanks. Oh my gosh. I needed 2 more hands, really, is what I needed. It's as good as it's going to get, I have a feeling. Oh, I got it a little better.
Oh, wow, you did. It popped right there.
All right, from right about here.
Just tip it up. Do I squeeze it?
Yeah, not much squeezing, no. Just tip it up. The gravity will let. All right, run it right down the crack. All right, now take that rag.
Go up?
Yeah, and wipe right up along that, straight along the crack. Yeah, all right. Hit it with the accelerator. Okay, that's as good as it's going to get. There you go. It glued my hand in there again, but I'm okay. It worked. Well, there you go, my friends. You can see that it looks a whole lot better than it did a couple of minutes ago. That thing was a wreck right there. That I never thought that was going to come back together. That was almost a miracle right there on camera. Okay, now that we've got it basically held together, I'm going to work on this area here that did not want to glue up as well, and I'm going to get in there and push on this. And do I expect any miracles here? Not at all. I don't think this is going to go back together all that well. I'm just going to do what I can as quick as I can. Glued my glove in there again. You think I'm kidding about this glue stuff. The least little glue will just run right straight through. This stuff goes everywhere, trust me. Some of my dear departed friends would have said it runs like a duck's butt. It really does. It just goes everywhere. That right there is the only place that you can feel. The rest of it is pretty dang smooth. I mean, you can feel the glue a little bit because the glue kind of got all over the place, but right now, that's the only place that you can feel anything in the seam, and it's just right there, and that's just because that broke laterally under there, and it just wouldn't go mesh back together. That's a good result, considering how bad that break was. Probably have to cleat this whole length of this. That's going to be a fun project. I think I'm going to save the cleating till later because I ordered a whole bunch more neodymium magnets. I ordered a little bigger size, and I think a little more powerful too. And so I think I'll save the cleating for that until later. I'm pretty sure it's stable now. I'm pretty sure it's going to hold without any problem. So I'll tell you what, in this case, even though this spreader, you can't hardly use it inside an instrument because you can't hold these two things still while you're turning this. I mean, yeah, I know you could put two-way tape or something like that, and that would help a little bit, but it has to be touching the surface already. And even then, you'd be surprised the friction that's on this, and it wants to spin these things. So anyway, it works, but had I not had this, I don't think I could have done that because I was able to adjust it to the perfect length to reach in there and wedge those two pieces apart. That's how I really did it. It was more of a wedging action than it was a separating action with this. We got that side fixed, so now we can come back to this. Well, so here's my bag of parts. I have not so much as opened this yet. So here we go. Obviously we got this giant piece, and you can see how it curls around the top there. Yeah, I can tell where it goes. That's not much of an issue. And the question is, will it go? That's the question. I can tell where it goes, but will it go? And not too bad, really. Not terrible. I think we got some potential to patch that back in there. And unfortunately, that piece is cracked too, so, oh my goodness. What I want now is this piece up here, I think. I think that's my key piece right now. And I think that might be it. It looks like it. I think I see the top piece here too, and that's this piece here, I think. Yep. So I guess that's what we're going to work on next. Yeah, I don't know. I think we have to. I don't think we have many options here. So I'm going to try to work on this next. Again, this has not been cleated in here yet either. This is going to be a difficult thing to show on camera. I have to have it over here on this side where I can work on it. And unfortunately, the camera's on that side. I'm not going to take it back out because it's fitting so well. But this piece right here was one of those loose pieces. And I have it sitting in there, and it's kind of in where it needs to be. And I think I'm going to just try to glue it in place right where it's at. I don't think I'm going to get it any better than that. Yeah, you always want better. That's pretty dang good though. I'll just have to live with that. And then this piece is going to go in here, I hope. And I'm hoping I can get it in there now. Oh my gosh. I thought that would go. I had it in there earlier, but that was because I had the piece loose. I should have just went ahead and fit this one in there at the same time. Doggone it. I can't get it in there now. And I don't think there's a chance. I had them both in there and I thought, well, that won't be hard. I never contemplated putting this one in second though. I didn't think about that so much. I don't think I can get it in there at this point. It's not going to go. Bummer. 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 See, that's that order of operations. Boy, you can mess up so fast. Oh, maybe I can slide it in. I think I got it. I got it. I got it. Ha ha ha. I'll be darned. I never thought that was going to go. I'll be darned. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's, you know, you want better, but that's pretty dang good. Pretty happy so far. We've only got really 2 more pieces. The rest of it's brace material from the inside, I think. I don't think this is a piece from the outside. Yeah, both of those are like some of this kerf material, and I'm not worried about the kerf material really at all. If we see a problem inside later, we'll look at that, but right now I'm not too worried about that. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to get this piece in next, and the reason is because it's got this long under pin thing here, and I'm going to have to hold it from the inside. Ah, that's better. Aha! I think we got it. I'll be darned. I think it went perfect. I mean, like you'd be hard pressed to make that any better. That went really good. Well, you just saw me slide that piece up in there, and it hits just as tight as a bull's butt at flight time right there. I mean, that's as good as it gets. Yeah, my only hesitation is gluing this piece right here and getting that back down in there tight as quick as I can. I'm going to start at the top here, flood this whole thing with glue. And fortunately, this glue just goes everywhere. That's why you use this super thin glue. I'm trying to get that down in there as tight as I can. And that part's the hard part, I can tell you right now. This is going to glue my hand, I know that. Yeah, I'm trying to get it to stay and stick without gluing too much of my hand to it. Yeah, well, there you go. It's you know, this one here, I wish I could have done it a little bit better, but I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. That part I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. It's pretty dang good though. I'll take it. I'm not complaining. Now, can we get this last piece in here is the question. If this piece would just miraculously fit in here, we're home free. It doesn't want to because there's one of those underlying issues again, where it wants to be under one thing and over another, etc. Doggone it. Oh, it's so close. It's so close. If we could just find a way to make the puzzle go back together without busting. Oh boy, it hits even closer. Will it go? Will it go? It's so close. It just doesn't really want to. Oh my gosh. There it is. There it is. I'm forcing it, but sometimes that's what you got to do. the old kick the television to make it work. That's exactly what I did there. I just tapped that and it just went. That's as good as that could have ever been put back together. That's as close as it'll go right there. It ain't perfect, but it's as close as it'll go. I can tell you that for sure. I'm pushing it as I'm doing this. I'm lifting up on this seam as if you're trying to figure out what I'm doing. There it is. That one went back in. Okay, I think we're a done deal here. I ain't gonna press my luck. I'm gonna get this thing glued. And of course, my accelerator's in the one place I can't reach. That's the way that always works. Okay, I haven't glued the bottom edge down here, but I'm going to turn it up the other way to do that. That's pretty dang good. I'll take that. Yeah, now that I turn it to this angle, I see that it didn't mesh as good as I was hoping it did. That crack there didn't mesh as well. It was cut under, you know. It's not terrible. I think we can sand and finish and stuff and make that look pretty darn good. I'm really trying to hold that down, but it don't want to be held down. That's as good as it's going to go. Yeah, the rest of it's just going to have to be fixed cosmetically as much as we can fix it. Well, that's going to be it for today. You've seen quite a bit here, and we physically have a base back together and still have access to it too because of that giant hole, which is very helpful in this case. I didn't quite expect it to go back this good, yet I want it better. I wished it was a little better. You know, it's just the way it always is. I'm happy with where we're at. I just always wish it could have just, you know, just the least little thing would have made it a little bit better, you know. But man, I'll tell you what, for all the fragments we had to fit back in there and all the cracks and broken pieces that were here already, oh my gosh, that's pretty darn good. So my friends, thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed seeing how that came back together. Now, can you say cleat until your eyes fall out? I mean, like, there's going to be so many cleats in this thing. Whew. They're all light and little and small, and they're dainty, and they're not going to matter. They're not going to affect anything other than just strength, and that's why we're going to put them in there. So we'll catch you up tomorrow, same time, same place. See you then.